This is the College Football Connection Podcast with Alvin Reed, Bradford Bruns, and Marty Jenkins on 101 ESPN.
Number 19, Mizzou may be idle this weekend, but your guys with the College Football Connection back at it, and we are absolutely ready to go and hammer it for week number 6 across campuses everywhere. What's up, everybody? It is Bradford Bruns, my guy Alvin Reed as well, coming to you live from our studio space in Creve Coeur, 101 ESPN. It's that YouTube channel as well as 101ESPN.com. Alvin, my man, we are back. We are entrenched here in the Lou once more. Our travels temporarily over, so that means we get to really just set up shop there on the couch and take inventory of a pretty loaded, in my estimation, week 6. It may not be week 5, but we've got a 5-pack of good ones on tap, buddy.
Absolutely, man. Lots going on that's going to tell a story in the Big 12 conference, Big 10 conference, got a big SEC game. I'll tell you what, hey, man, it's funny how we got to be, honest with the peeps. Doesn't matter what our alliances are and all
Bingo.
that, because I'll tell you what, Illinois pulled me out the crapper last week, and I'm doubting them this week. So,
we will get to the Illini, no doubt about it. Alvin, I will spare you when it comes to a lot of KU-related discourse. Hey, it's okay.
We'll talk about it with Cincinnati, because that has something to do with, obviously, with my Cincinnati pick.
That's absolutely right. But as you had stated right off of the top, any and all of the major power conferences are in play for this occasion. We are fewer than 24 hours from kickoff when it comes to, yes, a big one or two, for that matter, in the Big 12. So that's actually where we're going to start in this instance. You're talking about number 14, Iowa State, still undefeated. The last couple of games haven't come in quite as easy of a manner for Matt Campbell and company. Still traveling right here to Cincinnati, now 3-1 on the season. But Alvin, you could make the argument that this Bearcat squad could easily be 4-0, if not for an unfortunate turn of events back in week number 1 against Nebraska. And I think that's a big reason as to why you have this team favored by 1.5 against undefeated Iowa State. Over-under at 55.5. And this one, buddy, is getting going early there in Bearcat country, 11 a.m. kickoff.
Yeah, well, you know what? My son-in-law graduated in that stadium.
That's right.
We're about 40,000, in there. I don't think it's too intimidating for Iowa State. I'm just going to say it. If KU had some defense, Cincinnati doesn't win that game. All right. Now, Cincinnati won, and their quarterback is good. That kid's talented. All right. But I like Iowa State because Iowa State's defense is better than KU's is.
Exactly.
And simply put, Cincinnati won't be ripping and running up and down the field on them.
No.
And Iowa State plays a very determined and very staunch defensive and offensive game. And I think this is by far the best team Cincinnati has played, including Nebraska.
For sure.
So thus, I'm all over Iowa State on this one. I'm sorry. I kind of looking at that and saying, I don't know. Yeah, Cincinnati has scored points. But they've scored points against teams that are troubled defensively.
Also Rans, to be honest.
Right.
With the exception of KU. I'm still giving credit where credit is due.
No, but KU's defense, not there. I mean, even after a long game, after you fumbling at the 1-yard line, stupid stuff, you score a touchdown to take a 4-point lead.
That's right.
They can't even kick a field goal. You have to stop them. And we didn't stop Cincinnati. Iowa State will stop Cincinnati. Iowa State covers the 1.5 because Iowa State's going to win the football game. Now, this 55-5.
Tricky.
Under.
For me.
Under.
Any questions on that? Any questions? You're pretty confident about that.
I'm just seeing the under in that. Put it this way. I think Iowa State will hold Cincinnati down, and then Iowa State doesn't score a lot of points. Mm-hmm. So I think, 24-20, 30-24 even brings you home on, 55-5.
Sure.
So I'm going with the under on that one.
Here's what I like about Iowa State. I've been bullish on this squad since the beginning of the season, ever since this squad took care of business overseas. But by the same token, it hasn't exactly been an aesthetically pleasing start to 2025, and yet all this team does consistently strings together quality performances on both sides of the football and flat-out wins, to wit, You think about the last game against Arizona. The final score would indicate, okay, you blitzed the Wildcats. It was 39-14 after not exactly running roughshod over Arkansas State, and the Iowa game was very nip and tuck.
Right.
Rocco Becht, though, when it comes to sheer numbers, it's not as if you can put him up there on the foremost pedestal along with the rest of the best signal callers in the entire land. But he flat out wins. He does the job for Matt Campbell and company because you think about the final rushing statistics even in that game versus the Wildcats. He's a -10 in that category on 9 carries, and yet he gets into the end zone 3 separate rushing scores because when the moments loom the largest, when plays absolutely have to be made, whether you're talking about extending them, courtesy of the feet, getting outside of the pocket, making those quality clutch throws, I simply believe in him more so than the abundance, Alvin, of quarterbacks across the country. He wins in the toughest of moments, and this is, you said it, maybe not the most daunting environment,
right,
but Cincinnati, when you think about the upcoming schedule as well, this is a game that you have to have at home because coming up, yes, you've got UCF, you've got Oklahoma State. Yeah, thank you very much at this juncture, right? And you have Baylor. It's manageable moving forward.
Right.
And yet I have the utmost confidence in Iowa State. I've been all about that program so far this year. I can't turn back the Cyclones right now. 1.5 plus 1.5, yeah, I will take that kindly as well, even though 55.5, I really do think it could get a little crazy in the second half. I'm going to hedge my bets in the sense that I'm staying away.
Staying off of that one?
Yeah, but I'll go with the outright winner, Iowa State.
Follow what you said. Iowa State is not at the top of the Big 12, high third down conversion. Also, Iowa State gets a lot of first downs.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? And that's one of those things where, like, you're not popping 80-yard plays and things like that.
But you're wearing down that deep.
And you also flip the field over. Okay, we're at our 18-yard line, and we got 3 first downs, and it took 12 plays to get them.
Sure.
And we have to punt, but now they're inside their 15-yard line. And that's how you win football games. And I think that is what Cincinnati will run into with Iowa State. Based on what Iowa State has played already, the overseas game against Kansas State, obviously the Iowa game, okay, Arkansas State, it is what it is.
It's there.
And last week, I'm still thinking as I look at all of those games, because you played Arkansas State on the road, and Arkansas State isn't bad. I'm just telling you, I'm not hating on Cincinnati. I'm just saying that this is the best team that Cincinnati has played. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what will show.
And now you also have to concede, obviously, that Iowa State suddenly looks much more susceptible and vulnerable where in that secondary, because when you lose, Alvin, your starting pair of cornerbacks for the rest of the season, damaged and torn ACLs respectively.
Yes.
You can't adequately replace 55 combined career starts.
Right. And I do think Cincinnati, like I said, they have some offense, but I think the offense was being run against a team that just had not found itself defensively. I don't think it was literally I realize that Iowa State is, all right, we got guys out there right now that we don't. It wasn't like Cincinnati had this aerial bombardment and guys catching 50-yard passes and all that. In fact, it came down to a one-hand catch on a 4th and 10 to keep that last drive alive for them. But nonetheless, that's on KU. Dude, no, we can't have people 12 yards down the field. Granted, he had to make a really, really good catch, but he was open. So I think Iowa State handles.
And speaking of the offense, as we move along to another 11 a.m. Central Time kickoff on Saturday morning, it is the CFC with Alvin and Bradford on 101 ESPN, that YouTube channel. Illinois did its thing. For the better part of last Saturday's contest, another had-to-have-it sort of game.
Yes.
In Champaign, bouncing back, admittedly so, following the absolute embarrassment that was in Bloomington the week prior. Now, you almost let it get away. You did, in fact, relinquish the lead in the fourth quarter, and then you were saved in the waning seconds by your kicker. Nonetheless, you put points on the board, and finally, Alvin, as this team heads into battle against Purdue once again, and we'll get to the Boilermakers angle here in just a second, favored by 9.5. And on the page, you're saying, okay, Illinois having bounced back 4-1, Purdue on the other end of the spectrum at 2-2, although it has looked better in year one under Barry Odom. The over-under sits as well at 55.5. Illinois finally, Alvin, demonstrated the ability to get the ball down the field versus the USC Trojans. Altmaier averaging more than 15 yards per completion. What does that tell me? It tells me, well, somebody other than Hank Beatty in the receiving corps, number one, stepped up, and number two, you finally gave your quarterback a little bit of time in which to do his thing, scan the downfield options, and get the ball out. So are you going to see an encore as far as that performance collectively from the offensive line? Maybe you are not exactly buying in entirely, though, because in this matchup, nationally, maybe this angle isn't known. It isn't publicized quite as much. But somehow, some way, Purdue has been the constant fly in the ointment for Brett Bielema ever since he arrived on campus. You tell me, buddy, how in the world has Purdue, one of the most putrid, decrepit programs as far as Power 4 outfits are concerned over the past few years, how has this team knocked off the Fighting Illini in 4 of the past 5 seasons? And last year, you required overtime to eke out a 50-49 victory. That 9.5 number, it's there for a reason. It's there for a reason.
I'm telling you, look, Purdue, Illinois means more to Purdue than any place else in the nation. Now, and I've covered this game. It's a big deal to the Purdue people, okay? Because they look at it like, well, we play Indiana, and sometimes we play Notre Dame. But Illinois is the the school. Now Indiana hadn't transformed itself, and Purdue was very good when I was, covering them.
Oh, yeah.
They were very good.
Do you get the canon for this one? Is this one the canon?
Yeah,
The artifact.
So Illinois wins the game. I think 9.5 is a little bit expansive. I really do. I think Purdue, who hasn't, been awful this year, and they play Illinois tough, and it's a home game. Oh, and by the way, Illinois went on the road 2 weeks ago and just got shellacked. Now, I don't know if that's mostly Indiana, but how much of that is that you are on the road?
True.
Well, now you're on the road again, okay? USC put a tumultuous comeback on you, took the lead. You had to come back and win the game in your own place. How are you giving Purdue 9.5? I'm not seeing that. I think Illinois does win the game. I think Purdue stays in it the entire way. I'm telling you what, it's kind of odd. I'm going to play the under on this one.
All right.
Because I think Purdue is not there to score, i.e., I know they're coming in saying to win, we got to score 40 points.
You want to chew up that clock.
Yeah, we're going to chew up that clock.
If at all
Let's
possible.
keep them off the field. Illinois, hey, yeah, you rang up some long passes, some scores on USC. Who's USC? What's USC about? I thought they would, like I said, I was on Illinois last week, and Illinois came through, but I felt like, as we all did, how did this happen? Because USC was in control of this, Illinois was in control of this football game. How did it end up a close football game?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you go to Purdue, you cover 9.5. More power to you, Illinois. But no, I'm taking Purdue. I'm taking the under on the 55.5.
I'm with you on the under. I think more defense will actually present itself as this game progresses. I'm looking at the 9.5, and I'm saying to myself, Illinois, for all of its strengths this season, for all of its perceived weaknesses as well, Alvin, I would assert that we still haven't seen a complete performance for all 4 quarters. When is it going to come? Is it going to come on the precipice of actually meeting Ohio State? You can't afford to be caught looking ahead, even though everybody knows that next one is for all of the proverbial marbles.
Yeah, I know.
Just believe. I know West Lafayette, and all things considered, if you're going to author a real double-digit victory, it has to come against the likes of a Purdue squad that is still trying to build itself, reestablish itself. And I like the job, admittedly, that Odom has done so far in his first year there with the Boilermakers. But I really do believe here, last week you discovered something. It helped, granted, as I had said, that you actually had time in which to deliver the football if you were Altmaier. Does the offensive coordinator here, does Barry Lunney Jr., decide to continue to hit that accelerator? Can he do so? And can he really continue to integrate as well a pair of nice complementary vertical threats as well in Dixon and Fegan? And when you see a little more out of the backfield too from a Valentine, finally you got some splash plays coming out of the backfield a week ago. That was huge, averaged nearly 8 yards per carry. If you see more balance on offense for Illinois, that could go a long way toward making this one a little more lopsided in the second half. So I will take Illinois by roughly 14. Hey, fool me once, I know what the track record has been recently in this series, but I will roll with Illinois. It's been too good to me so far.
It's been too good. I hear you. I hear you.
That's dangerous, though, with feeling.
But 9.5. You got to win by 10. Woo. Okay. All right.
We shall see.
We shall see.
We shall see about that one in Big Ten country, but let's slide it over to the SEC. Two teams coming off of their respective bye weeks. Oh, Florida Gators. Oh, Billy Napier.
Billy Napier.
What do you have for us after a bye? Texas Longhorns. What do you guys have for us after that 55-0 dismantling of Sam Houston State? Good for you, Arch. Good for you with the bravado there. Doing your thing.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Oh, boy.
You're still 76th nationally in passing yardage, so I'm not sure exactly what that says. Here's what we know. The line has moved a little bit, Alvin, during the course of the week. Initially, Texas was favored by more than the current figure of just 5.5. Okay, Texas 3-1, we understand, having lost that season opener in inglorious fashion to OSU. Still hasn't looked anywhere remotely resembling good, especially from an offensive standpoint. Florida has been really good defensively.
There you go.
But among the worst offensive outfits that we have seen in FBS competition. 5.5 Florida, 1-3 over under 42.5. 42.5. Alvin, help me with that one at 2:30.
I can't. And I'll throw another caveat in, too. It's supposed to be raining off and on. Okay? It all comes down to Arch Manning. Does Arch Manning play in the rain? Texas has not played on the road since the Ohio State game. All right?
True.
So what does that tell us? Now you're going to the swamp. And the swamp will be full. Now, half the people want to fire Billy Napier. The other half probably don't. Who knows? But anyway, it's going to be loud. It's going to be whatever. The elements, either just humid, if not raining. Florida plays defense well. Okay? Texas does too. But Texas has been playing, whoever's for the last few weeks. I really think Texas is about to run into some trouble down here. I really do. I am taking my 5.5, and I'm taking Florida.
Are you?
Yes, I am. And I'd also, what's that outright? Because I think Florida could beat Texas in this game.
I don't have the greatest feel for this one, but I need you to tell me. Riddle me this.
All right.
Just tell me, especially given the propensity for turnovers so far this fall.
I think they're playing a clean game. I'm starting to interrupt
So you think that Lagway is able to do enough to get right against this defense, because that is the one unit you can poke all the holes you want in the offense for Texas. I get it. When you have Sark actually now on the record saying, hey, down the stretch this season, actually, maybe we'll make more in the way of, we'll pave the way for more designed running plays for Arch Manning. Designed running plays for Arch Manning, that is what you're going to hang your hat on from an offensive perspective. But the defense is undeniable.
Right.
It's irrepressible. It's second when it comes actually to points per game allowed in the country at 7.8
I saw
per
that.
contest.
Yeah.
How about yards per game? Yards per tilt, 212. I just don't envision the scenario here in which Florida, having been unable to get on track at any point against decent defenses, good defenses, I don't know how you move the football against the one undeniable strength of the Longhorns.
Yeah,
that's my issue.
Apparently, now Maryland is number 2. Good for Maryland. But Texas is number 1 when you add up turning the ball over on downs.
Yeah.
Punting, turnovers.
Let's just say total defense.
Total defense, basically where you just stop the other team altogether.
Yeah.
Texas is number 1. Give them that. I think Florida finds enough offense. If this game was in Texas, I wouldn't even be hesitating to take Texas points, overs, the whole 9 yards. But for some reason, this is a little last stand thing, and it's in the swamp, and it's night. And once again, has Arch Manning done anything to show you that he's ready for this? Because this will be even different than Ohio State. Ohio State was 11 o'clock on a Saturday, first game of the year, mind you. The sun shines bright, all through the night, deep in the heart of Texas.
For sure.
But now this is night, Florida, Gainesville, swamp. They call it the swamp for a reason. Okay, well, let's see what you can do. On a grass field? Come on, let's play.
If you're going to make that prototypical last stand, 1, to preserve Napier's job, frankly, and 2, to make anything of this season as far as anything remotely approaching 500 territory, it has to happen here. And yet, on the flip side, when you think about the aspirations for Texas, you also can't afford to be looking too far ahead. You can't be thinking about the Red River rivalry against Oklahoma coming up. You can't be thinking about any of that because the fact of the matter is that from an offensive standpoint, your inability to sustain drives, to really make anything happen in terms of fireworks here, I'm not playing the hunch of Texas based on my confidence in Arch Manning, but rather the ground attack and this defense, because I do think there comes a point, Alvin, and understandably, in this instance, Florida, having had that week off, it's going to help the defense because at some point, maybe it isn't this weekend, maybe it's next weekend, I don't really know going into November, but the defense attrition is going to become an issue because when you are consistently on the playing surface for that long, that's going to be the issue. And I keep coming back to when you match up against this Texas defense, even more heralded than your own unit, 33 points combined in your 3 games this year against FBS opponents. That's not going to cut the mustard. It's not going to cut the mustard even at home. Give me Texas minus 5.5, and I respect the elements. I'm afraid of the elements.
Yep.
By the same token, low 40s, I think these two teams, even these two offenses, can eclipse that total. So, yeah, I'll go mid-40s. I'll go over and get a little interesting in that regard.
Okay, I'm going to hedge mine in a way, in that I'm going to play I was playing the over too. And the reason I'm playing the over is because, like, maybe Texas dogs them.
A little twist. Okay.
But, I'm kind of like, no, I'm very, very, very confident in Florida. But if Florida doesn't get it done, I don't think it'll be one of these close games. It's like, God, we played great defense, but we had no offense.
Right.
I think Florida either is kind of in control of this game. And when I say in control, it may come down to final possession or something like that, but Florida would be leading.
Sure.
Okay, as opposed to Florida having to come back from 9 points down or something like that, or 10 down and drive for a touchdown, turn the ball over like they did against LSU. I don't see that. If Texas gets up, Texas stays up. So I'm going to play the over also.
I like it.
Right. Now, if it's pouring down rain, I guess, who knows? If it's typhoon, but who knows? But I'm going to play the over too because I think Florida finds a way to score enough points. And that really goes back to it's a home game. I do. Nobody's offense is that bad with that guy playing quarterback. It is. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But sooner or later, they're going to score some points against a good team.
Yeah.
And I think Texas is right. I think Texas is still – but people are talking a lot of stuff about Texas. And I don't even know if Texas believes it. I don't even know if Sarkisian believes it. Seriously, y'all, Arch Manning is our quarterback. Can we win the national championship?
You're still number 9. You're still in the thick of it. You fancy yourself as a CFP team.
Right.
Let's see it.
Let's see it. That's it exactly. Because I think that the team, everybody would raise their hand. We're, behind Arch Manning, we'll be like, and then behind closed doors, like, oh. We're talking about winning the national championship. Now, I'm not talking about winning this game this week or whatever. And I think if you have some doubt, even in your own mind, like, I don't know that this kid's ready to go through that gauntlet, then Florida could win that game. And that's what I'm saying. Florida could win that game. And by saying so, I'm saying Florida is going to cover the 5.5. Florida can still lose by 3, but they're going to cover.
Points expected to be flying elsewhere in SEC country as well. How about another 2:30 p.m. kickoff, Alvin? And how about a kickoff in Tuscaloosa? Round number 2, the sequel. Can it even come close to matching the original from a year ago? Vanderbilt, who would have thought at this point in the season, buddy, that the Commodores, Clark Lee's squad, undefeated, number 16 in the polls, 5-0. My goodness, Crimson Tide, we know how it went down last year in the great state where Tennessee.
Yes.
You had Vanderbilt doing the thing, 40-35. First ever win against a number 1 school in the polls. How about the first win against Alabama in 40 years? Well, Mr. Pavia, what can you do for an encore when you head to Tuscaloosa? And yes, for all of the bluster, for all of the narratives being thrown out there up against Kalen DeBoer for his lack of success against unranked teams so far during his tenure at Alabama. Yeah, 4 losses already, we get it. But what did you do? How did you answer the bell? The manner in which you did so last week against Georgia. Alvin, this one really, in so many different respects, it's about whether Vanderbilt can sustain the momentum, okay? But we have to give Alabama an ample amount of credit for going up against Georgia, not only defeating the Bulldogs by 3 points,
but controlling that game.
But doing it, controlling it, really,
Yeah.
for all intents and purposes, start to finish, snapping the 33-game home winning streak and really continuing to reinforce that stranglehold over Kirby Smart's program.
Yes.
10 wins in the last 11 meetings, and finally we saw more juice, more verve at the point of attack. It wasn't just Ty Simpson going over the top, but rather it looked more like a typical, if you will, Alabama effort that has to bode well going into this one.
And Georgia brings this defensive line that everybody's raving about. And Alabama was able to run the football. Alabama was able to control that game. Like you said, like I'm watching, I'm saying like, wow, it was almost like you thought to yourself, sooner or later, Georgia will figure something out, or Georgia will do this, or Georgia will do that. Like, no. And it was a classic SEC game, which it came down to the end of the game, basically.
I like that.
But Alabama just seemed like they were physically in control of that game. If we're calling this one a sequel, Bradford, I'm telling you, this is like a bad one. This is like Sting 2, or what are some of the other horrible ones out there? So like they need to bother that. Alabama gets revenge for what happened last year.
Decisively?
Decisively. They covered this 11.5. And you know why I'm going with the under on the 55.5?
Tell me.
Vandy doesn't score very many points. This is 42-10 or something like that. I'm serious. Look, DeBoer knows I can't afford, like, man, they beat me. I might be out of job quicker than Napier. Napier win his game and he can lose his. He's like, so he's like, hey, fellas, no letdown. We know what we can do now against a top flight football team on the road.
Exactly.
What can we do to Vandy in our own house? And I think we're going to see that on Saturday. Alabama covers. We're doing the under, though, because I think Vandy it's not going to happen for Vandy this time.
I will readily admit, I have essentially been disrespecting Vandy. I've been disrespecting Clark Lee. I've been disrespecting Diego Pavia over the course of the past few months. I specifically stated, I was adamant about it, Alvin, when we did the SEC preview in here a couple of months ago. Vandy would finish, I strongly suggested, in the bottom 3 or 4 of the conference this season.
I know.
Now, what's fascinating is that when you're in this sort of predicament, or you have this sort of opportunity, I should say, ahead of you, you'd better continue to ride that wave of momentum for as long as you possibly can, because according to the ESPN analytics, starting with this contest, Alvin, Vandy now has, for the remainder of the schedule, the second toughest schedule in the entire country. Now, Pavia, I'll just say it, I don't think anyone in the whole land is more deserving right now, early October, of the Heisman Trophy, if we were to award it right now, than Diego Pavia. He's done more for his program, for his team, than anybody else out there, okay? And I understand that in the last game you're talking about 6 touchdowns unprecedented against Utah State. This is Alabama. I get it. He proved his bona fides a year ago. At some point, though, is he going to get enough support and help from the supporting cast? Because going into Tuscaloosa, Alvin, you know as well as I do, you're not going to maintain that ball for more than 42 minutes this year. You're not going to be able to just trounce Bama on the ground. And what's the difference right now? I get it. Georgia last weekend ran for its fair share of yards once again against the front four for Alabama. If there's an area that's been susceptible, go back to the Florida State game. You've been gouged on the ground pretty repeatedly. But Keenan III is back. He's the anchor. He is a pillar there on this defensive line. And while I shudder to really think about that minus 11.5, I'm scared by it now. I'll say that.
All right.
Over under here, when it comes to second half of this ball game, when it comes to amassing and accumulating some garbage time points, I'll say it. I think this game actually hits the over, because Ty Simpson in the first half is going to have his way against this Vandy secondary. I don't think Vandy is going to be able to replicate some of the success it has had in recent weeks as far as keeping the ball, extending drives, and that's going to be the determining factor in this one.
I just think the whole what happened last year is also good for about 3 points or something like that. Never mind the home field. I think another 3 is, if there's one team we want to get even with, it's you. You didn't do anything wrong other than beat us when we were number 1. Good for you. That was last year. We're coming at you. We're gonna beat you down. I think the attitude for Alabama is, if we really are bouncing back and going all the way to the college football playoff. Never mind the Georgia game, okay? It starts with really kicking Vandy's ass to get that out of our own minds.
Separate but related here.
Yeah.
Put yourself in the shoes of a Missouri fan, and we'll talk much more about the Tigers and the Crimson Tide heading into next Saturday. How do you want to see this one play out? How does it need to play out to best enhance the prospects for Missouri? Is it Alabama winning, going away, or is it in a competitive manner to maybe make that later in the season game against Vanderbilt appear more enticing?
I think what you need is, this is me speaking, just not as the coach, but just kind of, how you get the eyeball test?
Yeah.
I want Alabama to wipe them out. I would want Alabama to come to Columbia being looked at, okay, they stubbed their toe against Florida State. It was first game of the year. The real Alabama is back. This is a top 5 Alabama team, top 10 Alabama team. That's who I want to play, okay? Never mind Vandy and playing them, because Vandy, I have to lose between now and then or whatever. I give them their credit for stomping on South Carolina, but Sellers was hurt, and we saw South Carolina kind of like, they played Missouri tough, but you just got this feeling like, man, I'm more concerned about Missouri than I am, boy, South Carolina is good.
Sure.
You were there. You probably looking at it like, man, yeah, right. So, put it this way. If Missouri had lost to South Carolina, all right, and I know I got my own allegiance, but it was almost like once they played the 2 games, it was kind of like, man, I think Kansas will beat South Carolina in a football game. Now, they blew the game last weekend, blah, 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 blah. I ain't going down that lane. But I'm just saying that, okay, Vandy, you blew out South Carolina, and that's what you're carrying now as your, early season trophy.
Uh-huh.
I don't think you're that. I think Alabama exposes you. And for Missouri, fine.
Yeah.
Right.
And you also expect the schedule to take care of Vandy in a manner, speaking down the stretch.
That's what I'm saying. Right?
It's inevitable.
It's inevitable. And now I will say, but then, if Vandy does, let's say Vandy does, lose this game, get blown out, whatever, Vandy's playing, so when you play Vandy, Vandy's looking at you like, we're about to screw your season up, Missouri. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you lost to Alabama or not. You're going to lose today. I could see that because that's all they got.
Yep.
That's the difference in going to a, mediocre bowl game and going to a really, really good bowl game. It's like we beat Missouri. Missouri's ranked number, 11, 12, maybe in the top 10. They beat Alabama.
Could be.
So, Vandy's got their own path toward respectability, which they are already at. But it's going to be on pause in Tuscaloosa on Saturday.
I hear you there. A lot, needless to say, though, a lot on the table for both of those teams, Vandy and Alabama, and the same would apply, Alvin, to the 2 teams immersed in our final official contest here on the College Football Connection on 101 ESPN YouTube channel and 101ESPN.com. Let's take it to the ACC land. Number 24, Virginia, Alvin, is ranked on the heels of a double overtime stunner, or was it against Florida State? Hey, your man is going to pop his collar a little bit here because on BK and Ferrario a little over a week ago, I said, now, don't get me wrong, I didn't pick Virginia, the Cavs, to win it outright, but I really thought, given what we had viewed early on in the season and Florida State, in my opinion, still being a little susceptible in a number of different areas, that it would be close. Little did I know it would explode in that manner. Virginia, though, going up against an undefeated 4-0 Louisville squad. And Alvin, this team under Jeff Brom, it's the second time now in 3 seasons that you have gotten off to a 4-0 start. This team, this offense can put up the points, and now we are fully understanding why so many people in this region, the Mizzou faithful, were really optimistic about the odds of trying to land Miller Moss in the transfer portal. It's worked out pretty well regardless at the QB position. Had a great game, though, a week ago, and that rally to come back down 17-zip on the road to knock off Pittsburgh as well, preserve that undefeated record. I see a lot of momentum here, and I think there's, frankly, just gut feeling here, more staying power for the Cardinals as opposed to the Cavs.
I agree with you on that. And Virginia, look, Florida State, you jumped on Alabama, and Alabama never really came back. Right. Then you got the same thing put on you. Dude, fellas, you got to play the first quarter. You can't look up and say, let's start playing now. Because you lose in double overtime.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Wait a minute now. For as poor as you all looked, you snapped out of it, and very easily could have won that football game, but you didn't, okay? Maybe you were looking ahead to Miami, all right? Virginia. I think it's just kind of a case of bad scheduling luck that after that, double overtime win against Florida State, the whole stadium looked like it flooded the field. Now you got to go play Louisville and like Yum Stadium or what it's called out there in Louisville, and they're a high-powered offense. I think Louisville covers the 6.5.
See, this was always going to be your tough 2-game stretch, though, because it lessens up considerably after this.
Yes.
Even that game in November going on the road against Duke, that doesn't look nearly as ominous.
No, exactly. They're not, right now at least, what people thought they would be. So this is your thing. But, so you won that one, but now you got to go to Louisville, okay? And it's an undefeated team that looks pretty good, that was under the gun on the road at Pitt, which is not an easy place to play. Let me tell you what. I've been there. That's not really an easy place to play.
And not just in the backyard brawl situation.
No, just all the time.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird, you know, like I think it's one of those, they love football so much spillover, and you know, where they play is snug up against where like Pittsburgh plays. There's just a thing with Pitt football.
Okay.
Tough. Whatever.
Aaron Donald.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Man, like, still get it done.
A lot of different people. You still like, he went to Pitt? Yeah, you know, like, yeah.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, right. He went to Pitt. Tony Dorsett went to Pitt. You know, like, Mean Hugh Green didn't do much of the pros, but, you know, like, man.
There's history.
Yeah, real history. But with that being said, all right, Louisville, yeah. They beat them, and I think Louisville beats Virginia.
Rolls. Does it roll?
Well, 6.5, 7, you know, like, right. I'm going with the over on this one.
Oh, 61
and that's a lot of points, I know, but man, Louisville, even when they lose, it seems like they got 35 points.
Fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough. You know, it's one of those things like, man, even if they can't stop Virginia, like they'll score. So that's why I think we're going over on this.
Which is weird because when he was at USC, Moss was frequently derided for being more of that game manager. Right?
Yes.
He's efficient, he's precise, but he's a game manager. They can go over the top. Now, speaking of that figure, and I am steering clear of that one, Alvin, 61.5, mid-afternoon kickoff. I'm not exactly feeling that in the house of the Cardinals. But if you're asking me, hey, can Louisville take care of business, stay undefeated, and win by a tutty? I'm saying yes, because with all due respect to Tony Elliott and company, it was the first time, Alvin, last weekend, the first time, and this required multiple overtime sessions at that. Virginia had never put up 46 points against a top 10 squad in the AP era. I think that Louisville is simply built differently, both sides of the football. I think that the situation here is such that you have, quite frankly, a runaway triumph for the Cardinals, and it really does beg the question, in my opinion here, as we do have another ACC contest to look at in a minute or so, who really is sliding into that number 2 hole as far as being behind Miami at the moment, but as far as forerunners, front runners to actually compete for maybe even, I'll say it, an at-large berth in the CFP.
You could, yes.
Louisville could cement itself for a while here.
Yes, it could. With a win there, then all you can do is go forward with an undefeated record. So that could keep you in the conversation. It absolutely could.
As far as that conversation regarding Florida State, can Florida State bounce back against Miami? It's a primetime game. We went all late morning and afternoon contests on this edition of the CFC. What's your feel for that one as far as Beck? You know my feelings on him. He hasn't exactly been pushing the ball down the field with the greatest aplomb, but the Miami offense is humming. The defense has been opportunistic on third downs as well. Castellanos here. Does he bounce back favorably? Is this a game in the fourth quarter?
I think it is. I also think that Miami's defensive line and Miami's offensive line are very good. And Beck wasn't getting it, just wasn't, whatever was going on with the game, he was not a real factor. But he could hand that ball off. And Miami really ran the ball well last week. That's what saved them. I won't say saved them, but, you know, that was very, very, if you're a Miami fan, good to see. We didn't have to light folks up. We were able to run the football.
And it reinforced you could win in a multitude of ways.
Yes.
Clearly.
And so thus, I think that's where Miami could go into Doak Walker and win that game. Now, this is like Texas, Florida. If this game was in Miami, I would say Miami will take care of their business in this game. All right. this will be a lot closer football game. This is going to be a tough, nighttime, hard-ass football game here, But I think Miami prevails. I think Miami is better than Florida State. And I'm not taking anything away from Florida State. They, the Alabama win, Virginia's, it happened. You lost in double overtime. The alarm clock didn't go off in time. Now you get to play at home against Miami. I'm still going to take Miami, okay? In this one, I don't know if it's an official pick or not, but let's just say I think Miami's going to win the football game.
Okay.
Right. No points aside or anything.
Right.
I think Miami wins the football game because I think Miami is a better football team than Florida State.
Yeah. Until proven otherwise, Miami is clearly the undisputed number one in the conference, top tier, first rung.
Yes, right.
And everybody else is decidedly
right
below.
now. And look, if Miami puts one on Florida State, then all of a sudden I'm thinking like, man, Miami, if they continue to get better, okay, that's a key. They don't fall off. If they continue to get better if they were to put one on Florida State, now I'm looking at them like, man, they could win the national championship.
Good. Very well could.
Because they're going to get in. They only have one loss. If they said if they took their one loss to the ACC championship game and won, or lost the ACC championship game, they're still going to get in. And if they get to that point, I would really be convinced that they could win the national championship.
Same here. We're wrapping it up.
With the quarterback, too, who's been under these lights. That's the thing that Miami has, before we go, the thing that Miami has that they haven't had in the past is Beck could tell all 85 scholarship guys, dude, I've been here. I've done this.
Doesn't faze me.
It doesn't faze me. You all do your jobs. I guarantee you I'm going to do mine. That's all. Just like me and you doing our job.
I like that. Look
3
at
and 5 last
there.
week. 3 and 5 last week. Alvin falls to 29-30. Like I said, Illinois, thank you. I will also say that Oregon and Pitt State, why was the overtime necessary? That's what blew one of my...
I hear you.
Oh, and one last thing I wanted to tell you was that it's funny. You can't do it. I don't think any pundits do. When you're doing your games, never do you say to yourself, 13 points are going to be scored in overtime. You just can't factor that in. All you can do is 60 minutes of football. And then what happens after that? Who knows?
Also thought I would get through this edition of the program without thinking of James Franklin. We'll get back to him at some point.
Yeah, I know, right? Exactly.
We don't really need to. How dare I, though, Alvin, how dare I think about concluding this installment of the show? And it is week number 6 of the CFC. Bradford and Alvin with you on 101ESPN.com without getting your thoughts. Quick, instant analysis of the matchup. It is a tricky proposition again, Alvin, on Saturday for your squad. Jayhawks. It really is. What are you thinking regarding UCF?
Well, I think UCF is a pretty good football team, especially on the road. I will tell you they've had some bumps and bruises along the way. KU should have won last week against Cincinnati. When I say should have won, look, you just got to hold them one time, and you win the game. You have a fourth down, you can't stop. I think it's going to be a tough game down there. I will tell you what, this is KU's little Waterloo. Are we going to be 6 wins and scramble to get in a bowl, anybody's bowl, which I would accept? Okay, or are we going to stand up, beat UCF? We got K-State at home. We got Utah at home. We got. I'm not saying there's a winnable games. I'm just saying you can brush off that Cincinnati thing. Mm-hmm. And your record would be the same if you had beaten Cincinnati, okay, and then lost to Utah at home and beat K-State. You'd still have the same record.
Right.
So let's take care of UCF and not be treading water.
As far as I'm concerned, it's still pretty wide open in the grand scheme of things when it comes to the Big 12. Slowly but surely, though, across the land, Alvin, we are getting more and more answers to those primary questions. Week number 6 already across college football. Alvin Reed, Bradford Bruns, as always, St. Louis, and everywhere else, we appreciate your listening, your tuning in. It is the College Football Connection on 101 ESPN, that YouTube channel, and 101ESPN.com. Also, in this particular instance, for this weekend, before 101 ESPN has that Michigan and Wisconsin kickoff at 11 o'clock sharp on 101 ESPN, you can hear us on the mothership as well. So we're going to sprinkle in some of those offerings. We get those opportunities once more this season. Always a good time, my man.
Hey, man, checking it out with you, checking it out with the college football world. We're having fun. Hope you are too. Bet responsibly.
Good luck to everybody. Have a great weekend. And until next time, we'll see you.
Thanks for listening to the College Football Connection podcast on 101 ESPN.
I so enjoy this.